have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Oh, there I am, hiding down the bottom again. How are you, folks? How are you tonight? I hope you're doing okay after a very big Christmas feed and no doubt a couple of good days shopping with the Boxing Day sales that have been going on and plundering everyone's pockets. Although I don't know how much plundering has been done, the business sections of the community were looking forward to a very big spend by the community in the post-Christmas sales. I don't know if they've come through with that yet. I don't tend to watch much free-to-air TV, so I don't know whether there were big sales everywhere. I'm sure there are, probably online too. I've been lucky to avoid most of it. I hope you had a great Christmas, that you and yours had a fun family time together, great friends, enjoyed some laughs, and they continue possibly with a lot of family and friends hanging around for that Christmas New Year break together. And New Year does look like it's going to be a rather interesting one. I'm not sure where I'm going to be. It could be on the Sunshine Coast at this stage. I might be doing some chauffeuring and we'll be looking at some fireworks, but we shall see. At any rate, a late show tonight because as those of you who've been watching the show pre-Christmas will have heard and learned, we were hoping to get Juan O Savin on for a bit of a Q&A in real time so that you guys could join us. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible in the lead up to Christmas, but we're just waiting for him to jump into the back room right now, and we'll have him on for a bit of a chat post-Christmas and pre-New Year, which would be great because there are a lot of questions that you guys have, a lot of questions that we have. And when I say we, I'll bring her in right now, the lovely Becky O from Truth Seeker TV. Merry
Hello.
Christmas. Happy New Year to you, my darling.
Everyone.
Did you have a good one?
I did. I was up Gippsland for a little bit, so it was beautiful. It was cold. It was freezing. Nice. It was very, very cold.
Yeah, I'm told Victoria, very, very chilly. And in fact, Black Sheep sent me a picture of his weather monitor thing where he was in Tasmania. He decided to go out and camp in his caravan using his new diesel heater, thankfully. It was -1 degree where he was. There was snow in certain parts of Tassie. I think it was on Cradle Mountain, but it didn't actually snow where he was, apparently. There was sleet. Don't know how you could not have snow at -1 and still have sleet. But anyway, Tasmania, Christmas Day, -1. Victoria wasn't much better.
We had real bad storms, didn't we, up at Gold Coast or somewhere in Queensland?
Singular bad storm, and it came through at about 3 o'clock. It was not a tornado, as some people first thought. It was just what do they call them, a microcell or something like that, that just developed in a very narrow, thin pattern. It managed to take down a crane that was working on one of the new high-rise constructions in Southport, and bent that crane in half. That necessitated that I think 3/4 of Southport and a portion of Labrador had to get evacuated on Christmas Day afternoon because of dangers that bits of the crane could fall and all that sort of stuff. A lot of high-density living around there, as people might appreciate. It was right on the Broadwater where that action happened. And, of course, the Broadwater Caravan Park was terribly badly affected by it, with caravans, boat trailers, I don't think with boats on them, but quite possibly, a lot of annexes and gazebos torn up, thrown, tossed around the park. One of the Queensland heroes when it comes to rugby league, Corey Parker and his family were staying at the Broadwater Caravan Park. And they've, been very badly affected by it. They were kept out of their lodgings there at the caravan park for 1 or 2 nights, I think, and were put up at a hotel. So, it's been quite drastic, good old Christmas Day. That one came through just before, I think, about 3 o'clock. So,
Yeah, I could
little
see a guy
micro.
holding onto his car and nearly onto one of his tarp things, and he's nearly flying away. It was crazy how strong it was.
Well, I was talking to Cass Smith earlier today, and she and her family, whatever happens, okay, we're having a bit of a problem getting one in. It's saying it's not linking, he's telling me.
I'll send him.
Do you want to resend him the link that I sent you back? Because I might have typed it in wrong. There is always potential for me to screw that up, although I think I just copied the one I sent you. I might have it wrong. Anyway, what was I saying?
Kaz.
Yeah. Kaz was, as she does, she and her family, holidays, all this sort of thing, seem to have their catastrophic moments, is all I can say. And this one appeared to be no different. She was out on the Broadwater. Well, she wasn't. Her daughter and her son were out on the Broadwater on jet skis, which they'd hired. And Cass was on the beach as this sort of storm started brewing up. She was getting pounded by sand. She waved the kids in and said, I think we should probably go away now and put the things away. So they got on them and were on the water as this microburst came through, essentially. Yeah. So they got pounded on the Broadwater with, meter sort of swells, and it was quite savage on the water as well. So Christmas Day is turning out to be rather interesting on the Gold Coast. He's saying it's
coming up with 404.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'd say I've sent him the wrong code then.
Well,
so pardon me, folks.
It did come up like that for me, but I just pushed through and went to Chrome, I think. So I don't know.
Okay. I'm just going to try and resend it to him. So pardon me here for a moment, folks, while I try and figure out. There we go. That's what I want to do.
I wanted to see if anyone had heard about the new Australian law that's coming in on the 1st of January. Apparently, you can only use up to $500 worth of cash between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. and small businesses are exempt.
Yes.
Doris sent me the link for that one.
I'm going to jump
I
in
believe.
There. Go, Vince.
Happy New Year, everybody, when it's coming up shortly. No, they've actually brought in a law that specifies that certain things like service stations, big stores like Coles, etc., have to accept up to $500 in cash for goods. That's the law. There's no restrictions. Smaller businesses are exempt from that law. So to answer that question, secondly, the reason that Juan might be having a problem is the government or somebody is mucking around with DNS servers at the moment, and a lot of pages are not refreshing properly. So you actually might tell him just try a refresh. Might get it through. Okay?
Yeah. No worry.
Okay, I'm just sending you that text now.
So everybody, if you've got questions, Juan, please put a question mark in front of it. I'm lining them up, but a question mark will make it easier for me to catch it. Thanks, guys. Bye, all.
Good work, Vinzo.
Good on you, mate. Doing legendary work. Right, I've resent the link, so with a bit of luck, I haven't
God knows where he is
misspelled it.
too. I have no idea where this man is. I know it's 9 o'clock in the morning. He's not Hawaii, so God knows what we're going to get.
Trekking all over the countryside, asking a Leyland brotherish type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one. And we'll bring him in. What a beautiful looking.
Oh, look at that. There we go. Merry Christmas.
Don't know if you want everybody else's face in there, one.
Let me move to a less busy area here, just across the room.
There you go. I'll remove you while you do it, just so it'll make it a little less distracting for folks left and right. I must have had a little fat finger disease when I sent Juan the one earlier, sadly.
Not you with your fat fingers.
Well, it happens, particularly this time of year after you've had a bit of a feed. So I'll bring him back up. There you go, in front of the Christmas tree. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, Juan. Oh.
Merry Christmas.
We have you down, mate?
Can he hear us?
I think he's here.
I wanted to show you town a little bit. I was going to walk a little bit outside, and we couldn't get that link up. I wonder if it'll work now.
Yeah, got you now. We just you obviously not hearing us.
Here, I got.
Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yep.
Oh, well,
Merry
there you go.
Christmas. Merry Christmas, Juanito. Can you hear me?
I'm getting you fine. I'm not getting Carl well, but I'm getting you perfectly.
Okay. Righto.
And the one thing about StreamYard is it takes so much bandwidth. And
yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. I do apologize.
It is about the only way takes so much bandwidth compared to some of the other ones, and it's not actually used in some of the stuff. So it's kind of one of those things we have to keep fighting bandwidth issues with StreamYard. But there we go.
My apologies for all of that. Then,
first of all, coming in clear all of a sudden. Yep,
beautiful.
Nope,
was Christmas good to you? Was Santa good to you? This is going really well, isn't it, so far? Sorry.
I don't mind. I'm just looking at his boots.
No,
how was your Christmas one? Was Santa good to you?
Well, I have a bit of a beard. That's all right. Let me see if I can get a little bit better spot here. I have a bit of a beard. And so when I landed in the Netherlands the other day, Christmas afternoon, and I was getting into the hotel, and there was a little boy that saw me, and he was noting to his parents that I looked like Santa. Well, I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt and my boots. And so he's looking at me. I looked obviously probably a little strange anyway. And so we talked for a moment. And, I told him I'd had a very long night. I'd just flown from the other side of the world. And I was pretty tired, after dropping off all his presents. And I was trying to remember his name. And so he told me his name. And I said, "Oh, you live in a condo. You don't have a fireplace, do you?" And his eyes got really big. And he says, "It's a fake one. You know which house it is?" "Yeah, okay, yeah." So I was a guess. So he's probably really, I'm thinking like 7 or so.
Wow.
So then I said, the problem is at night, I get so tired. I just got the reindeer put away. And some of the reindeer can't go to sleep at night because of Rudolph, because his nose is so bright, And they complain because they want to rest after a long flight. So I had to put a feed bag over his nose. And he says, "Does it run on electricity? Because my dad's an electrician. He could put a dimmer switch on it."
Oh, wow.
I'm like, how do you beat a kid like that's brain? I got to put a dimmer switch on Rudolph's nose.
God bless him.
Wow,
his parents are standing there. His dad's like, "Oh my gosh." So that's the next Tesla there. That kid was going to be Tesla.
Absolutely. Juan, we've got a lot of people very thankful for you to spend some time with us and answer some questions live. So I don't want to hold you up longer than necessary. And they've obviously spending a bit of time with us on their Sunday night here. So if you don't mind, I'll kick it all off with the first one from Peter Grace, who is one of our regulars here. His question is regarding the pole shift event and earthquakes, all 10 kilometres deep and tunnels, etc. what can you tell us about any knowledge of the pole shift event or that sort of stuff to begin with?
We have a magnetic pole and we have a rotational pole. And what he's referring to is the magnetic pole. And that's been wandering for quite a while. The theory that I think makes the most sense has to do with the fact that we're losing some of that charge, and that the way that the solar system is set up, we have events that occur on kind of a repeating cycle that kick our magnetic field strength, kind of give it a jolt, and that makes it more coherent. And so when it's degrading, it does this wandering, and you see the paths very predictable. We see it in the rocks and stuff like that. And I know I'm talking to a lot of people that don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm speaking specifically to those people who are following this. We see in the rocks in volcanoes where there have been pole shifts that have occurred out throughout Earth's history repeatedly. And when these pole shifts happen, they don't take hundreds of years. When it actually breaks down to the point where the poles flip, they leave a marker or an imprint in these volcanic flows. And so imagine a volcano is flowing out, and it might flow for days or weeks. We can go through the rocks in a historic volcanic flow that occurred within certain realms or time periods, and we'll see even during the flow suddenly the magnetic polarization within the material in the rocks, the atomic material, will have flipped, and it appears based on a flow rate and stuff like that occurred literally within just a few hours. Yeah. When that happens, if that were to happen in a modern era like we have today, it could be truly catastrophic, cause the planet to kind of wobble like a top as it comes down. You've seen, go spin a top. You'll see it spins really well, and then at some point it will deteriorate to where it wants to do this wobble, and then it'll recorrect itself and find a new orientation. It'll come back, and it can then degenerate into a wobble again. It's a little bit unpredictable, depending on a whole bunch of things. Again, if that would happen on the Earth, it would be like the Earth is drunk almost for a bit.
Yeah.
And so and you have to think of magnetism. Magnetism, anywhere you have magnetism, you have electricity. Anywhere you have electricity, you have magnetism. And so at a right angle to the direction of flow of the electric current. So if there was an electrical event that occurred within the Earth, something from the sun, large solar spot, the electrical charge between the Earth and the sun, or a magnetic effect, either one of those could affect magnetism. So we see some history where things like this have happened. In fact, one of the guys that did an amazing book 30 years ago, Vogt, V-O-G-T. He was up out of the Bellevue, Washington area. He had tracked it down to an exact date that the magnetic pole shift would occur. And it was like 2037 or something like that, based on his work. And to read through it and look at all the details, he makes a very compelling case for that specific date and planetary interactions and all sorts of things. Do I think we're going to experience anything right this second? No, you might get a little bump, a little wobble like that, but probably not at this exact moment. The only other thing I'd add to that is that one of the theories out there concerning the reason why we're doing so much work in the atmospheric alteration over the Earth with the materials that are being sprayed all around the Earth isn't just for affecting weather or trying to use that material. They're spraying aluminum oxide all over the planet. It's an unbelievably huge project, unbelievably huge, bigger than the Manhattan projects by, orders of magnitude. So most people see it and see the pumping of the atmosphere to move water, rain, temperature inversions, all sorts of things. We use it militarily to make it so that aircraft can operate above that material, and people with ground-based shoulder launch anti-aircraft systems can't reach military aircraft in active military zones. All that said, with that material in the atmosphere loaded the way it is, it conducts electrical current or magnetism fairly efficiently. And aluminum reflects a magnetic signal. And so part of the belief is it's not actually there so much to do the weather only, but it's there as an active reflective material for a magnetic, say a solar storm that would put an EMP that would affect the Earth, that it would deflect a certain percentage of that, reduce the impact of solar radiation and or an EMP from the sun. And to give it a classic comparison, in the 1800s, in the early days of the railroads, mid 1800s, when we had telegraph wires, there was a solar event that was so powerful with an EMP-like effect on the Earth that the telegraph wires where the trains were glowed red hot. That was in an era that we didn't have electricity flowing yet. If that same event were to occur today, you would probably wipe out much of the electrical infrastructure on whichever part of the Earth was pointed at the sun at that moment. And and depending on how an EMP would come from the sun, it probably wouldn't last a 24-hour period, it'd probably last a 3-4 hour period. Yeah. So it's whichever part of the Earth is pointed at that at the time, and it's not hyper predictable exactly which part of the Earth might be pointing at the sun at that moment. There's a speed that it comes to the Earth, and it varies, and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of things in the equation. So it's an interesting part of the science. All of that to say, I don't think that anybody, even the super smart guys with all the modeling, has it nailed. And as far as timing, location, all sorts of things, not even down to days, let alone months or years. So it's interesting, but I don't think it's a direct part of the equation or threat that we can model into everything we're doing or get all stressed out about, like somebody knows something, not telling everybody else. It's a zone. Does that make sense? I mean, it was a long explanation, but it's a good question. It's not a common question that I get, so I want to take an extra minute to just kind of put people in the zone.
A fellow by the name of or better known as in some circles as Greg, wants to know, and I guess here he's not just referring to what you've just spoken about, but broadly speaking, what we've all been facing for the last 4 or 5 years. He wants to know when it's all going to end.
Well, I think that's courtesy to Greg, but I think it's not. I'm trying to be courteous at a different level. I get the guttural, what the fuck, okay, but it's actually a poor question. I would even say in a respectful sense, okay, what the fuck back? What are you thinking? It's just like the end of World War II in Japan or in Europe. Just because the fighting stopped in one way doesn't mean it stopped completely. You know, in Europe, for 3 years after the war ended with the Nazis, you had what was called wolf packs that terrorized whole communities that were still trying to, you know, win the war in some fashion, you know, in some small region. You had the broader fight with Russia. Power hates a vacuum. And so the Soviet Union was trying to move in, Stalin was trying to move in and capture as much territory as he could and own it. Eventually, you had the Berlin Wall created. Across Asia, here we were helping the Chinese. Next thing you know, we're fighting them. And it led to Korea. So just because one phase of the fight might come to an end doesn't mean it's all over with. We have to man up and grow up and understand this is a battle that's so much bigger than most of the people in this country even have begun to grasp. And so, especially within an audience like this, and I appreciate people like Greg and others listening, contemplating, but I'm speaking specifically to people with that mindset, please. Being like Nino, a hand wringer, they just want it over. They just want to move on with life. They just want to, you know, go back. There is no going back to normal. We're in a fight that is literally an extinction level type of event, potentially, if our enemies win. We not only have to win this phase of the fight, which really revolves primarily around elections and money. Once we have that, the people that we're displacing, the systems that we're attacking and displacing, are going to try to find a way to fight back. They're not going to be completely decimated in one day, 1 hour, one event. We're having to struggle back. You know, this complex system, planetary system, wasn't created in a day. And to get it back on some kind of a par to function again is not going to be easy. We're displacing families that have had total control or near total control in many areas for a long time: energy, finance, politics, even the waging of war.
And a lot of it, one, has to do with every one of us individually becoming awake and aware of what is actually going on around us and being able to question rather than just nod and accept the programming that's been taught to us forever. And I think more and more people in the world are coming to that realization. But there's another question from one of our other.
Hold on. Before we go past this, I want to speak directly to Greg for a second. See, sometimes you have to get a grip on your own way of viewing things. You know, in a kind of a symbolic sense, I want to grab a guy like that by the collar. You know, wake up. You know, get your head turned on straight. As a friend, you know, if you're in battle, guys are hesitant to go into battle, serious battle, with a greenhorn. Idiots can get you killed. In battle, things that, you know, you can get rattled and end up dead because you make a wrong move or you aren't moving fast enough to protect the people around you. And it takes a little bit of, you know, guys first time in, you don't trust them to make the right move. Some guys will. It's natural. Other guys, it takes a few times, and it's not that they can't, that they're chicken or they're idiots or whatever. It just rattles you. And so you kind of have to get your sea legs, if you will. And so, but once they do, sometimes they become the very best warrior. I want somebody that thinks on their feet, that is working
Yep.
the problem. So take a question like he just asked. That's an intelligent question because you want to know how to plan, how to predict what's ahead. So it's not a dumb question. But the other side of the coin is we're in a battlefield environment right now. The people that we're engaging, this isn't a football game. This isn't, even though I use chess for a strategy, the reality, kings play chess as a game to learn strategies that they will employ against real enemies, real time, and ways of thought. It's Machiavellian. So you have to understand that the things coming to destroy countries around the world, such as the cheating in the vote, those are real bullets, because if these people get into power, they kill people, they
Yeah.
destroy lives and futures, they break lives, your children's lives, they enslave people. So it's far more serious, I think, than most people have fully grasped. From my perspective, literally millions of people have died within this whole debacle of the COVID bullshit.
Yeah.
And that was foisted on the world in reality in order to cook the vote, to secure that people would not be able to fight back while they closed this Tholian web, a Star Trek term, around
Yeah.
humanity
True.
to own the world forever. From that point on, while they were killing us all off. So I don't view this lightly. And even a question like that, I would say to Greg and the people around him, think again, take a deep breath. I want you to get your wits about you, because this is a life and death thing. However long it takes, that's how long it takes. If you're only going to be happy if this whole thing is relieved by some date certain, that attitude means you're not going to keep your wits about you, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if they tell you the fighting stopped, what if some guy didn't get the memo and he's still
Yeah.
fighting? You can walk into a trap, be somebody else's roadkill at the least expected moment. We are in a very, very, very real life and death situation. With attacks coming to America, these people that we just wiped out in North Africa, that was only a part of several groups that we've been attacking all the way back to Somalia in February of 2025, when the president did a strike on a related group in Somalia that has connections all through Minnesota, Michigan, other areas in there, that they were working to plan attacks on the rest of America. We took out the head in Somalia. Now we took out another group in Nigeria. They're still a threat. They still have lots of participants, including Iranian connections that want to attack America and do jihad. And we're in a fight for our life. So even if you get a win in the vote, does that stop the terrorists? If you get a win in the way elections are run, does that stop what's coming in the financial? I mean,
There's so many,
well,
we
there's
got
so
a
many
lot of,
branches to it as well.
yeah. So I'm
just on that, there are people saying, because it leads into exactly what you're saying here. When are we going to see the arrests? I would argue there are arrests happening if people have got the eyes to see them. But the arrest that most recently has interested all of us is that of Tina Peters, of course. Now, we heard some stories that she was no longer in custody. Can you confirm or deny, or whatever you do in this situation?
That's not
what's
true.
happened with Tina?
She's still in custody, and those kind of things. There's people that want to be right, so they put stuff out thinking they know approximately where it's at, and they want to be able to jump up and down, say I told you so, and all that. I'm very integral to everything going on there. It was Trennis Evans and I that asked Peter Tickton to take on her case as lead attorney. I had helped back with Pat Byrne when we switched out of other counsel that she had, that Patrick had paid $1 million for her representation, and I brought it to his attention that it wasn't working. We were in a critical situation and switched it to Stephanie Lambert. And so I've been in this all the way along. In fact, the day that she disclosed at the Mike Lindell event up in North Dakota what was going on, I spent 5 hours with her right after that, working through what was about to happen and some of the legal stuff. So I've been, Tina's been our guest at our place in Hawaii for several weeks before she went into trial and all that. So I'm pretty aware of most of what's going on there, and nobody has broken her out or done whatever. So those reports are actually not helping.
I think this is where it comes back to, when people have to watch who they listen to. I think that's such an important lesson for everyone. There's so many people that follow different individuals, and you just have to go with basically your own gut.
And AI is rehashing things continually. I got a phone call today from people who said, is it true that Donald Trump has attacked Iran today? And I said, well, not as far as I'm aware. That was a while ago. Yeah. And sure enough, it was a rehashed, story about the bombing of the nuclear facilities in Iran from months ago. And AI is rehashing it
research
and trying to ramp up the fear in people, I think. Is that what their aim is?
Yeah, some of this is as simple as they get clicks for advertising and make money. So, for example, we tracked one particular troll group on something that was very annoying and disturbing. So I've committed a fair amount of resources to getting to the core of that group. And they were based out of Greece, Spain, and Israel. And the amount of money that they're making was not insignificant. We got the numbers, and they were making, many thousands and thousands of dollars a day on the advertising they got from these multiple falsehoods that they were pushing out. And we exposed them. We broke them down. They ended up, having problems with their computers that ended up being permanent. We played with them a little bit to make sure that they didn't come back anytime soon. And we'll do that from time to time just to keep them honest. But at a different level, let the buyer beware. If you're going to go out there and be looking for particular material, you're probably going to get conned on some stuff. In fact, let me just add this. This is really important. I know of several, more than a handful, of specific attacks on people who were hosts in the Patriot community. So you guys need to be aware. And then also on people, within kind of these Patriot groups like that stand out a little bit. And what the deal was is that they got hit with, in the case of one of them, he supposedly, was going to get a whole bunch of money based on the fact that Dan Scavino had picked him out of the herd, and it had all sorts of markers on it. I think this one was in Instagram. And so they believed it. They kind of were wary, but then they believed it, and ended up nearly giving them several $1,000s for coordination to make this all happen. It was one of those things too good to be true. And I was like, oh, well, hold on. And then I talked with another person, a politician, in a relatively minor office, but still important, major state. And this woman, great gal, great business person, runs $1 million a year business. So no lightweight, and has done so for many years, unique product. She got conned for, I think, $50,000 in Bitcoin. Now, this is recent. This is like 3-4 months ago. Totally just broke her spirit horribly. And thought she was being extremely careful, correct in what she was doing in transacting with these people. She was targeted because she's a conservative, and that money's gone, lost forever.
Well, that was the same thing that happened to me as well with all mine.
Well,
Disappeared.
I want to ask everybody, and even within your story, don't be conned. And if they're approaching you out of the blue, you're not actually known to you precisely. These people are really good.
Yeah.
I had another person who, also a conservative, whatever. They had a new computer. It sent them to a site. Next thing you know, it was a porn site. They shut it off and went on and did other stuff. Short while later, they get a message that's supposedly from, I don't know, it's Justice Department or whatever, that they needed to contact him immediately. And then they're supposedly under a criminal investigation because they've been at this porn site, that it has child porn, and they're going to get all of their bank accounts seized and closed and all sorts of things, and that they need to cooperate. They talked with a person, the person's working with them, and blah, blah, blah. End result was, I think he got hit for $15,000 before he realized that he wasn't actually dealing with someone at the Justice Department. And in order to protect, so he had money because they're going to freeze all of his accounts, blah, blah, blah. And the con itself was very sophisticated. When they described it to me, I was like, well, I see how they got you. Part of the thing is they always want to you not to contact anybody else. Don't contact a friend, a relative, the bank, whatever. You gotta, whatever. So when you go to send money now at a lot of the stores, banks, etc., they're asking you, is this a person known to you? Blah, blah, blah. Because these are very sophisticated attacks. And if you're, not used to being conned, or people attempting to do it, you're gullible, they'll get you. You gotta really slow down and think about what's happening. So I'm glad we took a minute on this, because maybe we stop somebody within our reach and make them think again. Please think again.
It leads into one of the other questions we've got here from Sunflower, one of our moderators, and lovely lady. She has a good reason to ask this. Are med beds that some freedom fighters talk about actually real? Because there have been scams toward med beds as well.
Well, I don't even like the term med bed, just because of that exact reason. People's perception, the stories around it, the mythos around the whole med bed scenario is not really accurate. We have this amazingly advanced technology that's still coming together, related to medical treatment advancements like that. So in its most rudimentary sense, the whole term medbed came from a DARPA program, where a Defense Advanced Research Program, what they wanted was the ability to send in a drone to a battlefield location where someone has been injured, to be able to put them into a cocoon, a capsule, that maybe a field medic or someone can get an intravenous started on somebody, a tourniquet on a leg or arm that needs to be done, whatever. Put certain cuffs on limbs, legs or arms or something, maybe a wrap on the chest or something, that allows the pressurization to cut off blood flow, allow it, do transdermal injections, etc., to sustain life, that golden hour when somebody's been seriously hurt. And that evolved and evolved and evolved to where maybe you don't have to put a tourniquet on somebody or something like that, or some kind of a pressure bandage, etc. You literally just throw them in, and like an airbag in a car inflates. Everything inflates around that. Throw an oxygen mask on them, and they can sustain life while a drone flies them back, 10, 20, 30 minutes to a location of relative safety, a field hospital, etc. And at that location, they might not even remove them from the capsule, but treat them internally to stabilize them. In a longer term situation, within those particular projects, we now have testing mechanisms that can test for 150,000 different types of disease and injury protocols. You just have to understand that is just an unimaginable number that a doctor, a nurse just couldn't know all of the minutia of that. Snake bites, parasitic infections, disease protocols, and cancers like that. And then the combination of computerized history comes up with protocols to both stabilize, do reparative things. So imagine, a normal patient in a hospital setting, maybe they come in every hour, every few hours, they add something to the saline solution that's going into your body, a drug or whatever they want to drip, or they give you a shot. In this kind of a situation, you might be getting transdermal through the skin injections, micro injections, several times a minute. And it might be precisely near an organ for depth, etc., the way that it's injected. In order to protect an injection site, maybe it's several areas of the skin around that. Radiological stuff with nuclear type of x-rays leave all sorts of problems, damaged tissue, etc. If you do it too often. If you're using ultrasound and you know what you're looking at and you have the right patterning, you can image problems in the body with ultrasound and be watching it very actively, just like looking at a baby in vitro with ultrasound detector.
But I think
there's
the people
lots of
that are talking about these med beds are more, I think, focused on frequency healing and,
well, but that's where
pretty
I'm going.
outlandish.
See, that's where I'm going. As you get into, say, a Rife technology, very specific frequencies to attack cells, to help with healing, immune system, and all that, you might have within what you might consider a med bed, not just one technology, not 10 or 15, but a couple hundred different types of technology that are working together to address specific issues, hormonal, electrical, nerve, etc., all combining, and then with AI trying to come up with the likeliest solutions and protocols, and to stabilize the body and then create a healing environment. Most of the people talk about the med beds, you just throw them in there and a Parkinson's patient is cured a few hours or a day or something. Everything is corrected. That you may be able to help that. You may be able to tune these to do certain things, but in the most rudimentary sense, the way that people are envisioning this, that specific type of a med bed cure-all, throw them in there, everybody lives, and you're healed from chronic illnesses in hours or a day or two or something like that. Exactly what they're describing, I don't think you can argue that they exist right now. Is the technology evolving? You better believe it at lightning speed. I remember probably 20 years ago now, a device that was shown to me in a medical setting where they were imaging a person's body by just placing a tablet in front of the body in various areas, just like an X-ray. Was using ultrasound, but you could look all through the body and see all
Yeah.
detail, and you could adjust the depth and everything. It was just, and no contact to the body. I was just amazed at how well it worked. You apply that within a whole bed setting or something, and that was exactly what it was about, doing this in a military type setting, to 3D look at the body, front, sides, everything, to come up with repair protocols, etc. Then you think, or am I using lasers as surgical tools? Right now we have doctors doing heart surgery and brain surgery from across the planet using robotics that are micro precise, where a doctor is operating 3D on the patient, in a 3D holographic setting, and a robot's doing the actual work on the other side of the planet. It's stunning.
Wow.
It's so amazing. And that's actually not unusual at this point in time. So as the algorithms get better, as the AI gets better, you can easily envision a situation where a computer would do as good or better of a job in an operation than a human doctor, with the learning based on real doctors' work and adjustments to how and why certain procedures are done. Looking at what's there, way better than a regular doctor, because you might take the surgical histories of 100 heart transplant or heart patient doctors to combine all that knowledge into one computer operation mind, to use all of their expertise every time, and it would be way better. So just food for thought. So are we getting closer? Yes, but I think in the sense that most people talk about it, we're not there yet.
We're a way
And there's a lot of people, there's certain frequencies that help. I get all of that. Is it kind of generically a med bed and doing stuff? Yeah, but I think it's probably really overstating precisely what you're doing. There's a lot of layers to it. It's a bed that has, interesting medical applications, help people in certain ways. But let me just add one thing that's actually very important. A lot of times things are contraindicated, that a lot of these vendors, they want to sell what they have. We know that in certain types of cancers, the frequencies that people want to bring to use in those types of cancers actually aggravates your cooking things using certain frequencies. I mean, that's how we cook food with a microwave. So, and even with ultrasound, we have to be very careful. There's ultrasound that can image, but you can change the frequency in the ultrasound and kill. We use ultrasound to break up kidney stones and gallbladder stones. Well, if you can use a frequency to break up a kidney stone or a gallbladder stone, it's very hard, and cause it to shatter and dissolve and be dissolvable by the body. Well, what if you're using that in ultrasound on a baby's brain? You could kill a baby with the wrong frequency in the womb. Okay. So you have to regulate what frequencies you're using very precisely. And like so many beautiful, amazing things, that which can be used for good can also be used for evil or destructively. So in the medbed kind of a community where they're using certain frequencies that they think are pretty good, in the right situation or the wrong situation, where you have a mass that you're trying to break up, we know that you're actually cooking. Sometimes you can actually aggravate a situation, and nobody wants to acknowledge that. No, it's not true, whatever. Well, I can tell you it is true. And so you do have to be very alert and careful, because not everybody doing this understands the rest of the implications of the technology, especially combinations of frequencies.
Absolutely. Mate, we've got a lot of questions to get through. The Synchronicity Show said that the last time that we had you on the show, you said that it would only be days until the Trump National Election Emergency Executive Order would be brought forth. Is there any news on that? I don't know if that was
Well,
when we had you on the show. It was somebody else you spoke to, and I might have paraphrased.
well, President Trump himself, about 6 weeks ago, said that he was going to sign the executive order concerning the elections 2026 and not having the drop boxes and stuff like that. He said it was days away. Now, that's about 6 weeks ago, so that seems like pretty long days. One of the things that President Trump has done repeatedly, almost famously, is he'll get you in a mental zone. He's about to do something, but he'll hold, get you right. He what he's really doing oftentimes is he's evoking a response from people that are going to oppose him and get him to play their cards and expose themselves so that when he does do whatever it is he's going to do, they've already committed. It's like in sports like soccer, and you're charging with the ball and you feint, you're going to go left and you actually go right. But that feint is so hard. I consider President Trump like Joe Namath. Joe Namath, the football quarterback, as he got into his left college and went into his NFL career, his legs were almost toast, and he'd been beat up and injured quite a bit. He actually wasn't as spry as he had been earlier. He could pull it out of a hat occasionally, but he was struggling a bit. So one of his most famous moves that was the difference, and you just couldn't. He had this magic act illusion that he could do. He would act like he was handing off the football, do the break. There'd be runners beside him. He would stuff that football right into their chest so deep that you knew that guy was running with the football. But he had really big, powerful hands, bigger hands and more powerful than most of the other quarterbacks by far. He had a way of gripping the football that he could hold it even when a guy was looking like he's running with it. And they practiced, and that guy the ball would just slide right out from their hands. Everybody was absolutely convinced, watching other players would be absolutely convinced the guy's running with the ball. And he'd do that every play. And so you knew that guy was running with the ball. But occasionally, he would not let go of the ball, and he would hold it and bring it in. Everybody's chasing the runner. They're all set up. He gets an extra 1 to 2 seconds, which is an eternity in a fast-moving game like this, of everybody going and committing their direction. And then he'd suddenly, bang, there's the ball, and he's passing the thing, way down the field to other players who've gotten a chance to break further. And he could sell the feint so well. Trump is like that. He can sell the feint really well, and he baits the opposition to commit to certain directions, plans, whatever. That's what is good. A super good soccer player can feint the direction, get the other guy to commit to a bodily move that he can't recover from in time to chase him back down, and the guy will get right past him. That's Trump. He is within the theater, the game of politics. He is very good at selling stuff where he'll get them to commit, and then he doesn't himself commit the way they expected. He makes a lot of ground.
Which could lead into this question from Silver Fox. Why does Donald Trump appear to be doing whatever Israel wants? Once again, it's a political play.
Well, okay, and this is worth slowing down for a second. The whole Israel thing is absolutely, it's really been disruptive within the patriot community. We have a lot of great folks that have essentially bought into the idea that Trump is somehow controlled by Netanyahu, that America is captured. We're just doing all the bidding of Israel every time you turn around, and we're just somebody's dupe. And Trump is somehow their tool at this moment in time.
Yeah.
It's so painful. Let's start, for example, with Iran. When we nuked, or when we took out the nuclear facilities in Iran, Israel wasn't capable of doing that. But it wasn't merely to protect Israel from the attack. A lot of the media, a lot of the stuff that was said was to, form that mindset, to sell that idea that there was a threat, nuclear threat from there to Israel predominantly. That's not really true. You have a dozen different locations around the world where Iran is intricately involved in terroristic activity. Very closely tied, the Venezuela stuff. Iran's all through that.
Yeah.
The location where we just bombed in Nigeria, northwest Nigeria, Iran's all through that. The Somali location we bombed last February, that most people don't even know we did it. We got permission from the president of Somalia to bomb one of the terrorist groups in Somalia, got them all in their caves, killed them all dead, gone. Every last one of them gone. And they were planning on doing stuff in America, up in Minnesota and Michigan, and were actively doing this stuff. And Iran was all tied into that. And we just stopped them dead in the water. So Iran is involved in the vote fraud stuff that's coming to the public's knowledge through what happened in Venezuela. There was aircraft. Several years ago, I get a call from one of my contacts that they have an aircraft on the ground in Argentina. The aircraft had to go there because of a fuel issue and couldn't make it to Venezuela. And so on an emergency basis, they land in Argentina. Security forces go on the aircraft, documented everybody that's on the aircraft because they're all Quds Force. Quds Force, QUOD, are Iranian special forces, like their Green Berets, their SEAL teams. Yeah. And the aircraft is full of them, and they're being transported to Venezuela. Where were they going? They were headed to the U.S. And because of this fuel thing, they documented everybody, and then they let them go on to Venezuela. Those flights were happening daily. Wow. Okay, so going all over, South America, all the way up into the U.S. This is very disturbing, very, very, very disturbing. So with that in mind, when Israel did what it did, taking out the nuclear facilities, they were keeping Iran from being able to deploy nukes, nuclear material, etc., potentially to locations around the world, including the U.S. Some of all fears. It doesn't show up on a missile. It shows up in, some other component that somehow gets through the net and gets into the country and damages a major city or several at one time. The connection of Iran to South Africa. South Africa, when it went into this communist chaos Marxist thing, they had enough material for 5 nuclear bombs, and a 6th almost completed. And that had to be spirited away. Kissinger actually worked the deal, and those materials were supposedly spirited away somewhere else. With that in mind, Iran's working closely with South Africa. You got technical capability there. Is that being traded back and forth to Iran? There's a lot of people that think that's true. And very disconcerting. Back before Iran went a weird direction, Israel supposedly tested their own nuclear devices in South Africa, and back in the 70s. So, there's a lot of stuff going on here that you can't tell the players without a program type stuff.
Yeah.
Trump has actually, for all that he's done stuff to help stabilize the Mideast, a lot of these very players that are criticizing Trump and what's going on are not giving credit to the fact that Trump did this deal with Saudi Arabia and then again with Qatar, an even bigger deal militarily. What he did was get them to commit huge sums of money to buy U.S. built defense systems, aircraft, radars, etc. Both of these purchases involve arms that once they've completed the purchase, we still have to service them for 20 and 30 years. If Saudi Arabia or Qatar were to somehow fall out of favor with things they want to do in the Mideast, attack Israel or something like that, their weapon systems would be non-functional in just a few days or weeks, and we could cut off the training, the upgrades. These are complex systems that need spare parts, etc. They're not going to deviate. What they did is they decided, Trump got them to agree to tie their future, their protections to the U.S., not to Israel and not to attacking Israel. What he's really been doing is building essentially a situation where Israel claims to be defending itself from everybody all the time. They're all going to come wipe us out, and remove that as a reason why they get their way on so many things. That their claims of having enemies, really? Those guys aren't going to attack you. They got our systems. They're not going to attack you. Multiple of them. And then, by the way, Iran, okay, they're not a threat to you. So why do we have to do the things we got to do? And there's no questioning, by the way, that Israel has had a disproportionate weight into the way that politics run in America. The largest lobbying group in America, in Washington, D.C., has been the Israeli lobby. The counterpoint to that, that's never said, nobody ever acknowledges it. What's the second largest lobbying group? Saudi Arabia. What's the third largest lobbying group? What's the fourth largest? What's the fifth largest?
UAE.
The next 5 or 6 countries, okay? So at the end of the day, as an individual lobbying group, the Israeli lobby is the largest. Conglomerates, these other groups together are far outweigh even Israel in the lobbying, and we've had to deal with all of them. Look, we have oil policy tied to Saudi Arabia. The world runs on energy. Our own dollar for up until just this, Trump's first term was tied exclusively to oil, but oil out of the Mideast.
Yeah.
Trump has been systematically dismantling those control mechanisms into the U.S. Congress, politically, etc. And I will add one thing. One of the most disconcerting players in the whole Washington, D.C. system that Trump spends a lot of time with, the reason he does that is because of this person I'm not going to name, connection to Israeli business people or the Jewish lobby in a generic sense. Why is that important? Because Trump has been systematically taking control of a lot of those things and making it so they are, keep your friends close, your enemies closer, removing the tentacles where they control congressmen and other things and moving it to himself, so that if they want to do a deal, they deal with him directly. They can't go to Congress and bypass him. They can't go to agencies and bypass them. They can't get it from Doge and other things. And when they get to him, he forces them to do a deal. And they've had to back off, and he's done that numerous times. Even with Netanyahu, I will tell you this. Netanyahu did not want Trump to do the deal with the Saudis or Qatar. He called multiple times a day for 2 weeks, and Trump wouldn't take his call before he went to Saudi Arabia. Wouldn't even take the call because he's going to do the deal. He didn't care what Netanyahu had to say, and in fact did do the deal, and it's better for us. There's certain players that have been working in the open as though they're independent that are being run not by Mossad precisely, although one of them has a parent that's one of the senior Mossad people, but within kind of a very wealthy core of banking and business people within the Jewish community globally. And they've worked several of these players in the Patriot community. And we know that they're getting paid. We know they're on the payroll. We know even where it's coming from. Some of it's coming to them through advertising agencies, oil companies, etc. And they're getting, pocket change to try to influence us as a community, and including a couple of very high-profile military people. We're aware of that, and behind the scenes have exposed them. You want to do this, I'll expose you. I'll tell the whole world what's going on. I'll show you the connection. I've got, copies of the money that's being sent. And they've had to back off. It's becoming harder and harder for them to conceal themselves within this community. Does it serve anything to really just unmask them or whatever? I think it's disruptive. Most of them have had to just kind of ease back into the background. Let them say what they want to do. It's a conversation. I don't really care. But don't do it as though you're totally independent when you're on somebody's payroll. And one of the individuals, there's a hand of God thing. So a particular one that has been there for a very long time, I'd say 7-8 years, very actively trying to steer things in the Patriot community, putting money in the right places and people and all that, as far as I'm concerned, was a British agent the whole time. And I've kept my distance, behind the scenes, told folks to just, go slow there. And that person had a medical event here just a few weeks ago, as they were trying to press in. And my attitude on that, I never wanted to go head to head. I want to have a big dog fight. I don't want to, it's not my style. Just keeping the distance. God himself is going to remove some problems and some obstacles in this situation. And I think we have to let some things, if there's people want to say something, it's a conversation. All right, well, let's have the conversation. Within this whole thing related to Israel is a stumbling block. There's no question about it. There's issues there. I don't want to stop the conversation because I don't think that's healthy either. I think, though, that we don't get so overpowered. We can't have a conversation that must be one-sided every time. Israel, there's problems there. Is it that we're not going to we're going to go all the other side and the pendulum swings all the other way and let Israel get wiped out? No, that's not an option either. It was put there through a mechanism with the Balfour Declaration. A lot of beautiful people there, but it is a stumbling block to the world. And it's designed to be a stumbling block by the people who created it, which is the Brits. They want the world to come to a war. They want to use that to do it. We're trying to avoid that and block that activity, and it's not easy.
So,
here, I've got to take this call.
Sort of related, I guess.
Give me about 2 minutes. I've got a call I have to take. I'm not going to take out of the thing. I'm just going to step aside. Let me take this real quick. It's a very important call. About 2 minutes.
Yeah, cool. No worries. Well, I think we've got through 4 or 5 questions so far, folks. We are.
He will tell you
Gonna
the
try
whole
and get through a few
story.
more.
Get ready, people, and just listen, because there's parts when one speaks that you really have to tap into. I know sometimes he can go on, but some of this stuff he's telling you, he can't tell you straight up. He has to sort of
That's right.
do a role
Has to
play
tell
for
you
you to guess what it is. Yeah.
Anecdotally. Is
That's
that the way
correct.
you would describe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to discuss things anecdotally. I've got to say, Gomez Adams has got a good question coming up shortly.
On the French.
I'm really looking forward to hearing the answer to that one. And Kirsten has got a good question as well, asking about Australia being assumed or adopted by the US, either now or at any time in the past. Susan Buxton's got an interesting one there about our calendar going to 13 months. I haven't heard that one. Have you heard any stories about that one, Beck?
Aussie Sue, I did hear about that a number of years ago. I don't know if that was going by the Gregorian calendar or one of the other. I'm not sure.
Well,
Susie,
the word,
knowledge.
I don't know. I don't know if it's general knowledge, but I think that there is a very large and proven argument to suggest that there should be 13 months in the year and 28 days every month. But those things are apt to, different interpretations. Looks like Juan might be ready to rejoin us. Are you back with us, mate?
Yeah, I had to take that call. There was something going on I need to be aware of. So
everyone was saying, was it Trump calling you? I've got a lot of people messaging here, Juan.
Yeah. Hey, so the question I have for you is one from left field. It sort of relates to Israel. Can you tell us who built the pyramids?
You know, that's an interesting question. Let me answer it a couple different ways. Zahi Hawass and that whole crew currently over in in Egypt, would like you to believe that the Egyptian people built it a few thousand years ago. The reality is the pyramid itself is built on a platform that appears to have come from a far, far earlier time. And the Sphinx also. So, and the weathering, people have come up with various weathering models that seem to show about 80,000 years is how old the Sphinx is. So, and it's been altered, the face on the Sphinx is not the original face. It was chiseled out at a later time. That's why it looks small compared to the rest of the body. With that in mind, the other thing that's interesting about the pyramid, this is virtually unknown to most people. The only place on planet Earth that you could build that structure as it is and have it remain intact is exactly where it's at. And the reason is because the crust of the Earth runs about 12 to 15 miles thick. It's like an onion skin compared to the rest of, the planet. And below that you have molten material. It's gaseous, but under extreme pressure. So it's like a liquid and like that to a molten core. And so with that in mind, this crust is very, very thin. Where the pyramid is located is also very interesting because if you were to take and draw within the circle of, say the planet, and then you put a 3-sided pyramid, what we call a tetrahedron. Instead of a 4 base, you put a 3 base. And that's the simplest form that you can have in 3 dimensions. If you move any point, if you remove a point on a tetrahedron, now it's 2-dimensional. So the simplest form shape that you can have in 3 dimensions is a tetrahedron. And it's also the most common form. It's the basis of crystals and all sorts of things. So if you take that triangle shape and you put it inside of a perfect circle, the tip at let's say the North Pole and the lower tips where they fall, well, they fall below the equator, the midpoint between the top and the bottom of the equator. That tip, if you were to measure it, the circle is 360 degrees around. It's an arbitrary number. Okay, we just pick a number, but we use it in the West as being 360 degrees, 360 points all the way around in a circle. Some believe it's based on what was the original day, 360 days in a year, and somehow the Earth slowed down and now it's at 365 days to be a full rotation around the sun. That it went around the sun faster at one point in time. It took 360 days. So that 360 degree circle, if you then go, well, 0 at the top at the North Pole, at a quarter of the distance, that is 90 degrees. Exact opposite South Pole be 180 degrees. 270 at 3/4, 360 for the full circle. If you then measure from 90 degrees at the right angle and you go down to where the tip back, the 90 degrees point and the tip is 19.4.
Internet's cutting in and out a little bit, Juan. Okay, I don't know what's happened.
Yeah. Seems to have dropped
frozen. There's some good questions coming in too.
Yeah, there's some great questions coming in. One of the ones I'd like to ask him, if we can reestablish contact, is I'm looking here at a live gold site and silver. It's saying that silver has just gone through $90 American an ounce, which, if you put that back at Australian dollars, puts it 134.66. Ainsley Bullion aren't showing that on their ticker. They're showing $118.
So what's that 4 times it's gone up? 4 times.
I would say, well, it's gone up over 150% year to date by now. It's staggering how fast and how strong it is. Now, people are saying there might be a bit of a pullback. I was talking to Cass Smith about this today, and we'll have Cass on for a chat a little later. Looks like Juan's going to go out and try and come back in again. She said even if it does pull back, it's not likely to pull back to under $100. And if it does, buy. If there is a pullback, buy. It's called buying in the dip. And her advice, not that we give advice, but if you have a bit of spare cash, is
like with the stock, it's like the bull run, isn't it? When it goes down, it's going to hit a,
Yeah. The current gold-silver ratio, at least at Ainsley, is 57.19. That's the lowest I've ever seen it. And they're expecting it to drop even lower. There are really, really interesting terms coming out of a variety of US. Vince is getting the figures up.
Yeah.
There's a variety of news coming out of a number of US pundits, if you like.
Yeah.
Suggesting that gold, I beg your pardon, silver could be at 200 US an ounce by February. If we're looking at the kind of figures we're looking at here, and there is news, I thought this news had already come out, and others may or may not be able to tell me if they've heard this as well. But apparently tomorrow it will be released on the market that China is no longer exporting any silver for any reason. India have stopped doing this as well. Now, I thought that this had happened a week or so ago. I've certainly been aware of it since well before Christmas, that China had stopped, or were stopping their silver production and exports. Not stopping their production, not by a long shot. Now, I'm being told today that that isn't the case, that it's going to hit the market tomorrow when the Asian market opens.
Yeah.
So, and I'm also very confused about the discrepancy in the gold bullion sites who have got a live ticker running on the price of precious metals. Ainsley's is still, as I say, at 118.04 versus the one, if you go to, well, one of the other ones, 134.66, it's saying. That means, folks, that if you were going to go and buy silver tonight, I'd be going to Ainsley Bullion to buy it, because the spot prices
are a lot better.
A lot better. What does it work out? $12, $15, $18 better.
Yeah.
Pardon me. So per ounce. So I'd be checking that out. I don't know if I've done the wrong thing by Ainsley there, whether their ticker is just stuck or something. I don't know. But whatever you do, make sure you remember to mention Voice of Freedom. Make sure you remember to mention my name or Voice of Freedom, and you'll get a small discount. And when I say small, it is little. If you're only buying, an ounce or 2 or 10 or even 20 ounces, you're not going to get a huge discount. Don't think you're going to get hundreds of dollars. You're not. But if you are putting in a super fund or something like that, you certainly will get enough to buy a little extra to put in your super fund. Worthwhile doing. Self-managed super funds, the way to go. Self-managed super funds are not high on the list of mainstream media at the moment. In fact, today I saw in, I don't know whether it was in a news.com or a Sky News article about superannuation, and it was really talking up the fact that, oh, look, it hasn't been this bad, or it hasn't been bad. Super hasn't been bad. Super does tend to take a bit of a hit. The markets do take a bit of a hit. But look, the markets always bounce back. Super, on the other hand, can take a bit of it, but don't take your money out of super, it was saying. Well, I don't give advice, but if I had money in super, I would be removing it from big super at the earliest opportunity, and I did at the very earliest opportunity, and went and bought some silver with it. So I would urge you to do exactly the same thing, folks. Exactly the same thing. And if you don't know how to do it, if you're not eligible to get your super out yet, or you don't know how to set up a self-managed super fund, maybe you're a bit younger and you want to establish this for down the track, you'll be amazed how quick 40 years travels, folks, I can tell you, although you guys know bloody well. Get into it. Freedom Financial Solutions, they will help you out. freedomffs.com.au, and just remember, put in the Voice of Freedom and tell them we sent you. And you never know, you might get it through a week faster. It doesn't take very long. Okay. The Freedom Financial Solutions team have got it down to something that's pretty quick, 2 to 3 weeks. So very easy to transfer, and then you can keep adding to your self-managed super fund with every silver coin or bar that you buy going down the track. Vince, we can hear you, but we can't see you, my friend.
That's right. I'm hiding deliberately. No, so that is the actual live trading right now that you're seeing on screen. So
okay.
At the moment, that's 79. Yep, 79.32 US is what the current live trading is. So other prices that are way higher than that, interesting. Very interesting indeed.
Yeah, well,
anyway, I've got
a silver. I've got a silver buy price of $90.52 at ABC. But what did you say it was? What's the silver price there? 79.
Let me see if I can change it to AUD.
Oh, I've just changed it to.
Right. So right now, it peaked at $118.26.
Jesus.
Right. So there we are, sitting at 118.04 at Ainsley, which I would say is more accurate than what the other mob was, which I was saying before. I don't necessarily want to point their name out because, as you can see, they're significantly dearer. If you were to go off and buy from them at the moment, you are paying significantly above what the spot price would be. So don't want to bring them down. Just want to point out that if you go to ainsleyBullion.com.au and fill out your order there, you get the price as it is right now, which is 118.04. And when the market opens up tomorrow, you might make a profit before you even have to pay for it all. How good's that? Bearing in mind the Ainsley offices are not open in Melbourne, the Gold Coast, or Brisbane until January 5, but their online offices are being monitored and those orders will be filled. So there is somebody working behind the scenes. I don't think the orders are going to be filled until January the 5th, but you will be getting your invoices and associated other bits, and you'll have to pay for it, obviously, before you can pick it up on January the 5th, or they'll send it out to you on that date. So thanks, Vince.
One said he got kicked off, but I'm not sure what's happening. I told him to try again. Maybe he's gone for a little rest stop. I don't know where he's going, but anyway.
He looks like there's a few people at that venue that he's at, so they might be all jumping on Wi-Fi at the appropriate time, checking their emails, and it's falling off on us.
Have you seen the news report of Chris Minns has confirmed discussions are underway whether to call armed forces to guard Jewish schools and synagogues following the Bondi attack?
Oh my God!
Wouldn't it be easier just to ban? News about that.
Wouldn't it be easier just to ban those sorts of schools? They ban Australians and everybody for having guns. They ban us for everything. Well, we just ban the schools, send them normal, everyday primary schools and high schools, and that way there won't be any segregation.
If they want to integrate and want us to all get along, why would you not put us all together?
And that's the thing. They want us to integrate, but we're very happy to promote Jewish-only schools or Muslim-only schools, for that matter. I guess there are Catholic-only schools. There are Church of England-only schools. Are they different? Is a Catholic boarding school or a Catholic high school any different to a Jewish high school or boarding school, or, for that matter, a Muslim one?
Vince?
Not well. I can't
answer that one.
Yeah, well, basically speaking, because the Jews and Christians, although we have very similar values, the Jews don't believe in Jesus Christ. So there is a difference in philosophy and their religious teachings in that area, but they still believe in pretty much everything else that we do. So in that situation, they work well within our society, and I don't see any problems with Jews being here. It's the other ideological sects that we need to worry about, and that was SECTS and not the other word. So anyway,
right.
As everybody can tell, my spelling's atrocious. Just look at the chat.
That's all right. You've got Christmas fingers, mate. We're all a bit shaky this time of year.
Yeah, indeed. There's a hell of a lot more questions. I hope one gets back on.
Let's see if we can answer some.
Okay, I'll ask. You guys see if you can answer.
Oh, Jesus.
I can't waffle like them. Is Port Arthur and Sydney the same style of black flag?
Yes.
So we have two yeses. Right. So does that mean that you guys think or believe that there may be an involvement of our government in this that we're not knowing about?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I do think that, like, what Port Arthur happened, take our guns away, control us. And I think the Bondi, I don't know if the Bondi would be an awakening for people to see, to show the corruption within our government.
Or just to
With
show
the
how
ASIO,
bad
with the ASIO
bad the
already
government
knowing
is.
who, had these guys on target and they did jack shit. So is it to bring them
And the fact that they've
forward?
been prepared, the government has been totally prepared to blame Australian sporting shooters, Australian registered firearms owners who have not shot at any Jewish group or Muslim group or Catholic or Church of England group. All they've shot at is foxes on their properties, or they've had to use their weapons to put animals down. Now, I would like to get some of those shiny bums who think they've made a great decision here. The next time a bushfire goes through New South Wales, I would like the shiny bums dragged out of the bureaucracy and given a 22 caliber rifle with 5 shots, I think is going to be the minimum that they're going to be allowed to have. I would like them to take one of those rifles around with the farmer who has to go and shoot 3,000 stock who've been not quite burnt to death in the bushfires,
All due to
and
the
see how
wars of
well
not
they
doing
go.
well.
Yeah, see how well
Not-
they go with 5 rounds in a 22, going up against
Not to
cows,
mention
sheep. Sorry, Vince.
bulls. And bulls, which
Bulls.
have got massive skulls. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Here's one that you might be able to answer. How and where does 107, well, that's what they've put in this question, Juan, get all his knowledge from? It's unbelievable. That's one for
Where
you,
does
Mike.
Juan get his knowledge from? Well, if we knew that, we wouldn't be talking to Juan. We'd be talking to where he gets his knowledge from, wouldn't we?
Well, if you do research on the man, there is a lot that's not really put out there to the people, but he has been involved in some pretty extraordinary things, and I think everyone knows that he was a spy previously, I'm pretty sure. And so
I didn't, but I do now.
he does have a lot of contacts. He does hang around with a lot of people. That's why he doesn't show his face to people, because he still has to do the disguise thing, and he's still playing a part. But that is a good question for us to put forward to him, because I'm sure that he'll love to answer that one.
Yeah.
Okay. And we acknowledge Mick IS3SCC for his 2 $5 donations. Even though one of them's something to do with Disco and Carl, so we won't mention that any further.
I'm not going to send photos, not for $5. You're going to need to ramp up there's going to need to be at least 2 zeros.
Take his top off.
What, me or Disco the donkey?
No, you.
All right. Really, guys, settle down. Okay. Is there any truth that Carl and Becchio are going to start looking at doing a show together?
There've been rumors.
And we have silence.
Who said that? Kerry Cassidy? Did Kerry Cassidy say that?
Did Kerry Cassidy say that? Yeah.
There has been talk.
Carl and Becky
talk.
show. Sounds like
the Carl and Becky show was touted. And didn't one of your Truth Seeker TV people make up a little opener for us, Beck?
Yeah, Justin, who will be Justin that helps run one's TikTok, Rumble, X, everything. He put together a nice little
we should be playing that. See how the people
Carl
like
and
that.
Becky O show. I think you've got it, haven't you? Didn't I send it to you? think
No,
I
you
sent it
didn't.
to you on Telegram.
Oh, did you? Well, hang on a minute.
Justin,
Let
if
me
you're
go.
listening, can you send it back again? Because he sends me a lot of stuff.
I'm
I would have sent it
gonna
to you
tell
via
you.
Telegram, Carl.
Okay, I'll have a look. I'm trying to find you.
Yeah, so Carl and we were talking a few months ago, and I just blurted out the Carl and Becky O show. It'd be quite funny just to sit here and do some what the fuck news, or get some people in to talk about the stupid shit happening, or if they're nothing
There
too
would be a bit of
serious.
that.
Nothing too serious. We all need a little bit of laughter. I'm just trying to find
Bit of
this
fun.
from.
I'm just going back through what you've sent me. Oh, hang on a second. I might have it here.
You haven't sent it. I can see it right there.
Okay. It's the thing with the frogs, isn't it?
Yes.
The Carl and Becky O show. Right. I'm just downloading it. Hang on. I'll get it downloaded and we'll see. I haven't watched this, I'm
Haven't
very
you?
sorry.
Okay.
No.
Oh,
So
sorry,
it's going to be
Justin.
something new for us all. Hang on a minute. I'll pull this up. And we shall see what it. Oh, now it says it's too big. I can't do it, so I'm going to have to play it.
You not share screen to Telegram?
Video file. Your browser is having trouble with this video. Can happen if the file is invalid. Hang on a minute. What sort of file type is it? I might have to go and save it as something else.
Can you not just screen share?
Oh, it's an MP4.
Carl?
Yeah, I should be able to, but it doesn't seem to want to. Oh, not screen share. I've got to share the file. Like
the Carl and Becky O show, where we chat and let the good times flow. Aussies, it's the Carl and Becky O show.
Singing loud, let's go.
The Carl and Becky O show. Welcome to the Carl and Becky O show,
Where the laughs never grow old and the boots are
always bold.
Hey everyone, we have a special guest today.
What? Who is it?
It's Juan O Savin. Wow, this is so exciting.
I can't believe it. Juan O Savin is here.
This is going to be legendary. This is so exciting.
Yeah, Juan O Savin is here. Woohoo!
Everyone, get ready for the special guest, Juan O Savin.
He's here to share incredible insights with us all.
G'day, Juan O Savin.
These boots are made for talking, mate. Ugh, not this again. They're just boots.
There's like 15 different promos in there that you could cut up and throw up as little shorts. That is pretty wild. We're only halfway through it, folks. I thought I'd stop it and just keep going. But I'm going to have to pull all that out and do a little bit of editing. But yes, the Carl and Becky O show. I've had some pushback again.
Juan doesn't have Telegram at all. No. He doesn't have any socials whatsoever. No,
he gets somebody else to sell T-shirts for him.
Yeah, he's got his wife's Telegram group, which is Jennifer Mack. She does health food, but he has got no ex, no nothing. He's got one gentleman that does channels that he's let him do channels. So
no problems at all.
Yeah.
All right. So I'd love the obviously it was a much more attractive frog for Becky and Carl. Probably about right. Sorry, mate.
Thank you.
This is why I'm not showing on the screen and just a mild voice in the background. So yeah. Actually,
no, I'm not going to say anything. That's all right. Next question.
That's a good one. Let's go back to see what I've got here. There's questions. Is America going to get rid of marine law? I think they meant maritime law. I can't see how that's going to go.
I can't see how that happens without the Supreme Court
basically
Ooh,
folding.
there would need to be some big changes in the Supreme Court before that, I think, could happen. Although,
Well,
see, I
what
don't
was
understand the American
didn't Trump
system
say
fully. The
something about going
Republican
back
system
to
is different.
1776? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, well, that they'd take us 1776 would take them back to the writing of the Document of Independence,
Yeah.
and everything that followed on from that. So that was their perversion, if you like, of common law to maritime law, because that's where the Brits still managed to get their common law leg in. Their maritime law leg in. Australia happened sort of differently in that, well, sort of the same in that we were both invaded, if you like. There was no war fought over Australia, though. Where the fraud happened in America was during the Civil War, and the battle for that was being financed by France and Spain. And I forget which side one was being financed by which side, but at the end of it, the agreement between the royal families of the world were that after any wars, the leading royal family would be the one that decided who got what, sort of thing. And the leading royal family at the time was the British royal family, who said, no, we're going to maintain control. And that's why the Postmaster General's office was created.
Russell J. Gould.
That was always based out of Russell J. Gould. Yeah. All links in.
So
nice
that's
to
the
see you.
Declaration of Independence, wasn't it? 1776, was it?
Yeah. And I saw somebody said, when are we going to go back to 1901? Well, when enough of us wake up, and I know enough of us are awake, but not enough of the rest of the country. I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday or the day before. We are the people that make the difference. And when I say we, I mean every Australian, not just the ones who we deem to be awake. Every Australian has to be part of this waking up experience. Otherwise, it's never going to work. There will be wars. There will be civil wars. There will be division. There will be hatred. There will be blood on the streets. There will be deaths, because people get very passionate about this sort of thing. The only thing that will change that is if all people's, desires, materialistic or otherwise, are actually sated. And that's where talk of a great financial reset and, all this abundance coming our way has been able to placate the community, broadly speaking, around the world, in my opinion, because, there's money coming my way, I'll just wait. That's what a lot of people have heard. I'm going to get money back. Some say I'm going to get every cent I ever paid in tax. Some say I'm going to get more. Some say this, some say the other. I'm just going to wait. And I'll tell those people who tell me this that they're crazy right up until the point where the money turns up in my bank account, because I don't want to look like one of those crazy people that runs around and says, don't pay taxes, you're going to get all that money back.
And you know what, though? I feel for these people, because at the start there was so much misinformation, because we woke up from so much shit, and then we listened to the wrong people. There were so many people telling us, even like what Juan said before, there's well-known podcasters that were spreading a lot of bullshit, that were feeding the minds of us that, it's going to be over soon, they're all arrested, when they had no fucking knowledge, excuse me, but they had no knowledge of it. And I am to blame. I also went along that trail because it was hopium that we were living on, because we went through so much shit. But people have to realize that what we're going through, it's been going on since our great-grandparents were around. It's a war that's been fought for generations. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to take a long time. Will we see stuff? Well, we can see that stuff's happening now. But I think the more of us, enough of the negative and bitching and this one's this or this one doesn't believe, if we all just respected each other and went with it and had a little bit more of not a negative attitude, maybe things might speed up a little bit.
I wanted to talk about Tina Peters a bit further, because she is obviously arrested. She's been thrown in the jail, and she is one of the stars who has discovered the fraud, has all the evidence. That's the only arrest that we've seen, and it's not a good one. So when the person asked, are we going to see arrests? I think it's not the right question. Are we going to see justice? Is the question I think we are not asking enough.
You'll see some of that coming now. I know that Juan was talking about to do with the elections and bits and pieces, but the 315,000 votes that were not signed over in a particular county, or 36 out of 37 sections of a certain state that's now very Democrat, is proof of that, right? So that's starting to come out. That's hitting the big news as well. So now
and that happened here. It happened here as well. Andrew's getting it. Oh.
Yeah, there was. I've got some figures on my computer that show that the Great Australian Party had a really interesting voting schedule where they got a whole heap of votes in the lower house and exactly 10% of those same votes for a Senate seat.
Yeah,
from the same place. That doesn't work. But anyway, was the Bondi PSYOP part of the plan that could be to take out Albo? With his 315,000 people signed signatures saying get rid of Albo? Question?
I think that's a good one. I think so. I think it's to bring attention to him, attention to him, attention to ASIO, attention to government officials, everything.
And to the overreaction of government. The Minns government's being touted as being fabulous, and all they've done is take away the rights of people like you and I. They haven't really impinged. And I was only reading this morning that Hadid, one of these preachers, these hate preachers out of this filthy, bloody Muslim prayer house or whatever it is in Sydney, has a gun license and guns. Now, if he's a hate preacher who's been warned numerous times about what he's been saying in those places, how is he a fit and proper person? How does he pass the fit and proper person test? All right. That's the one they tried to nail me on because I say things here. You're not a fit and proper person if you don't agree with everything the government says. How does he get that friggin' license?
Okay, first off, is he even Australian? Is he a citizen? Does he sworn to Australia? Or is he still?
Well, that didn't matter to the other bloke. He's an Indian citizen.
Yeah, but no, and that's right. And that's what I said the other night. That's a serious flaw in the gun legislation where they should have been a citizen. So that's one that they do need to fix. Yeah. Okay, so before we go down that dark theme,
let's say they fix that. Just before you move on, let's say they fix that. No more non-citizens. If you're not a citizen, you can't own a weapon. Do they now knock on the doors of all the citizens or all the people who aren't citizens but have weapons and take those weapons off them?
Well, theoretically, yes.
Well, they knock on the homes of licensed Australian gun holders and take their guns off them every day. So I can't see why it would be a problem.
Is it the type of gun that you own, or is it all guns? Because I heard it was semi-automatics that were completely going to get rid of. Shotguns were staying. But
Australia hasn't had access to semi-automatic rifles. Australia hasn't had access to semi-automatic rifles since Port Arthur, I don't think, or shortly thereafter. A semi-automatic rifle means you pull the trigger and the gun goes off and reloads. You pull the trigger, it goes off and reloads. Bang, 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 bang. You pull the trigger as fast as you can pull the trigger, it will reload and fire another bullet. A fully automatic weapon means you hold your finger on the trigger and it'll keep firing until you take your finger off the trigger. We're not allowed to have those here either. Shotguns, pump action shotguns. A pump action shotgun is the next step up from a double barrel shotgun. A double barrel shotgun could be used to kill livestock, but it's a very messy way of doing it, horrendously. And I don't know, you'd need slugs, wouldn't you, to kill a bull? You wouldn't do it with
Yeah.
Yeah.
you need solids. So very expensive way of doing it.
I don't know.
And a very
People just need to
painful.
stand up. People need to get off their ass and make some noise.
Yeah. So I think
And
what
that's
the
exactly
PSYOP has done is it showed Australians just how inept Albanese and his government is. In fact, I was going to close the show with this tonight, but or did I open the show with it? I might have opened the show with it. Never a truer word spoken. Missing in action. The Westpac rescue helicopter deployed in a desperate search to find Penny Wong.
Something
and the
wrong.
tagline is being hidden by the bloody comment. Give me a second here.
sorry.
She is
Uh,
grieving the Bondi victims.
Grieving the Bondi victims from an undisclosed location. We've seen nothing from her. Well, she came out and made an apology the other day for not going and visiting the site of the attack
No one
on
wants her
October
there
7th
anyway.
in Israel.
Not
Know.
not being personal or trying not to be too personal, but I've watched Penny Wong in Senate estimates. So I've watched her in her speeches. I don't believe a sociopath can show feelings or grieve. Just my opinion on her, personal opinion only, right? So, but yeah. Now it says here, so will Australians see some action here soon? I think we can answer that one. As soon as we stand up, we will.
Yep.
How's that answer?
As soon as more of you, this is going to be interesting now to see what Sydney siders or people in New South Wales are going to do when the government have said, well, we don't want you to march in certain areas, or we don't want you to march on certain days, or we're not going to allow you to protest. We're not going to give you a piece of paper that says you can march up this street and down that street and congregate in this park on this day. Since when does the people need permission? Is this going to, and this is where the weight of those, and I hesitate to call them normies because they're not, they're starting to wake up, but they're at the very beginnings. And this is a dangerous time for those of us that have been in this now, and our knowledge is quite deep. We're deep into the book. Well, we're about to get a whole influx of people who've just picked the book up and are in the first few pages. And bear in mind what we were like when we first started discovering these little gems along the way, and how excited we were and how desperate we were to tell other people about it. Now, we're going to get them coming to us and telling us like it's all brand new news and we should be shattered as they were to discover, the various different truths that they're about to discover. We can't just put them down and say, oh, yeah, I knew about that years ago.
No,
right? We've got to be tolerant. We've got to let them tell it because we needed to tell it. All right? We needed to tell it. And we needed to tell it so that we could experience what it was like to get pushed back, what it was like to get told you're crazy, what it was like, to be insulted, and what it was like to keep going and keep pushing the message.
And the amount of people
and they have to learn that because that's the first 10 chapters of the book.
What would you say to those that are just waking up now? What advice would you both give to someone that's full of all that, oh my God, adrenaline, and then complete pain of realizing? What was that?
Well, then just a pure disbelief. It can't be true because they do that little backslide for a little while. But effectively, understanding your environment, understanding where you're about, who you're with, and who you can and cannot talk to. You need to start reading the people that are around you to figure out where they're at. And the more everybody just wants to dump it. You cannot dump it. Literally cannot dump it. And you've got to understand, you think you know it all? You only know this much.
Yeah.
Right? This much. There's so much more out there. So that's my thing. Always be rational, be understanding, be compassionate, right? But tell the truth. You may have to moderate it a bit, but tell the truth. That's mine. Carl?
Carlito?
I think for me, the message I would try, I would probably try to bring these people a few chapters into the book, deeper than where they were. I would ask them to always try and look at every situation without excusing what you see. We have been programmed all our lives to make excuses for the things that we see that we shouldn't see. The things that we see and we think, oh, that's just not right. Or it's the whole reason people are saying, oh, of course the world's round, not flat. Of course, well, money is not going to stop. Fiat system isn't going to fall over. All these sorts of realities that people have been programmed into believing. I would simply ask for those folks who are new to what we're relating to here to go in with an open mind. And when you automatically come up with an excuse, when you hear me or Vince or Becchio say something that pushes you back, like the world is flat. And if you've just sat back in your chair and said, oh, shit, Carl, you're a bloody idiot after all. All I ask you to do is to just put aside what you feel is true, what you think is true, and put aside all the excuses you've been told through your education to back that up, and just view the problem logically. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the world is flat. I'm not going to tell you that the world is a globe. I'm going to tell you that I don't care either way. But should the world turn out to be flat one day, I'm not going to be very upset by it. I will be very upset as to why they had to hide that from us, and what they hid from us is more of interest to me than anything about the shape of the earth. I'm more interested in what is behind the ice wall, if there is one, and why we had to be kept from it.
I asked
who
Juan
made that
he
decision?
knows how to get over that too.
Who does?
What? Why?
Did I tell you I sent Juan a text and I said, do you know how to get over the fucking ice wall? Because I'm done.
Okay. Well, as far forewarned is forearmed. So even if something is out there, and thanks, Ginger Meg, yeah, we love you too. If you're forewarned, even if it's a small or minor or remote possibility, the fact that it's even there means that when something like that happens and it is actually true, and I don't think flat earth is, but that's just another thing, at least you're not going to be hit as solidly as you might have been if you didn't know at all. You were totally blind to it, which is what Carl's saying, I think.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to keep your mind open.
Yeah.
If you don't keep your mind open, right, to the possibilities, and then weed out what you think is, give yourself a percentage chart. This is 70% a possibility, or it's 10% a possibility, but don't totally flush it all.
Yeah. I think you just have to
don't rely on what your science teacher told you.
No.
Because while the science teacher believed every word that they were teaching you was correct, it seems the science may have been tampered with at a very early point. And those teaching it may not have known they've been teaching you a lie. So keep an eye on that little point going forward.
Yeah.
Very good.
I mean, there's plenty of little scientific experiments on the flat earth. And I mean, we've got one up on the FBN channel where Carl posted one where it shows a nice idea. And then I posted another one that shows that water does in fact curve, and it's proven via a helicopter. So there's two different experiments. You just got to take
And
a
the
look and say
rainbow.
which one's which. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I just want
you know,
to at this point, I want to say hello to my good friend Len Clampett, who is currently spending some time at Heaven in the Hills. Len was the fellow who was going to Antarctica to tear assholes into those flat earthers who dared to think that the Earth was flat. Unfortunately, because of his age, and he had a medical condition at the time, he didn't want to pay the extra 35, I think it was, $1,000 just as a security deposit in case they had to fly him home on the 737 by himself. So he didn't wind up going. Tad unfortunate, but he still goes into battle against the flat earthers every day. He is a highly spirited campaigner for the globe, and a pilot, ex-pilot, a very, very intelligent man. But I got to be honest, at 82 years of age, this argument has kept him going for the last 3 years, I think. So good on you, Len. Keep the fight going, brother. We love having you around, and I look forward to continue it in the not too distant future. A lot of fun.
Anything
indeed.
back from Juan yet?
No. Well, he is in Amsterdam, so I don't know. Maybe he's having some cookies, or I don't know.
Well, we all know what. Yeah. Okay, Amsterdam, Holland. Okay.
I think, he may have gone off for breakfast.
That's fine. Yeah, he would be busy. So anyway, if he comes back, we'll probably have another 2 hours.
Yeah, well, that's and maybe 3 more.
We'll get another 4 questions out.
Yeah.
But
now, I think next time we do this with Juan, we're going to do a rapid fire questions, yes and no answers only, and we're going to see how many we can get out.
Countdown clock.
Yeah, I'll do a count up. We got 60. You got a 60 seconds. Here's our next 60-second round, Juan. And then the third round might be 2 minutes long.
And we need him to be as brutal as it comes, because when you see the real brutalness from Juan, you'll understand who he is and what he's dealing with. That's all I can say.
thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought he handled Greg's question very delicately.
He's very polite.
I thought there was a tightrope there, wasn't there? Yeah, there was.
He was walking it,
and there was another question under that. Yeah.
And he didn't mean any offense to him.
Under that.
Yeah, it's hard, like he's been in this for more than 20 something years. Do you know what I mean? He's not just a freshie. Yeah. He's seen the bullshit. He's probably more frustrated than all of us, because he can see it and he can reach it. So I think people just have to be patient. I know it's bullshit. I know we all people want to say, I've told you so, I was right. People don't need to do that.
No.
Just get over yourself, get over whatever it is that you're holding on to.
That's part of the leveling up we were talking about before with him, I think, too, that it falls on us. When we say, well, somebody was asking, when are we coming in? When are they going to come in and save us, sort of thing? That we're here to save ourselves. We have to level ourselves up. We have to become more in tune with.
We as a people,
whatever it is, we have to become in tune with.
We have to stand up alongside each other. Even if we don't like each other, you still have to be side by side. If you don't agree with the views of someone else in a war, are you going to say, you don't agree with me, I don't want you standing next to me? I don't think so. So people have to start thinking like that, in my opinion. Anyway, there's just too much.
Oh, no.
And the best way you can exhibit that, folks, the best way that you can exhibit that you are trying to do something about changing your attitudes is changing your road rage problem. If you've got an issue where you drive along and you are speaking to people through the glass of your car and the glass of their car, and you're being rather animated behind the wheel.
I'll just get my husband. Can you just explain that? I'll go get Shane.
So every time you go off like a frog in a sock behind the car wheel, you are displaying just how far you have to go to attain even a small measure of upward momentum
I
in where we're
disagree.
going. Because
so do
in the
I.
big scheme of
Have you
things...
driven on the roads of Mumbai, Melbourne, Carl? Have you been
I
on the
don't have
roads of
to.
Mumbai, Melbourne?
I've got Calcutta,
Can't
Gold
wait for you to
Coast.
come back.
I don't need Mumbai, Melbourne. And
Crazy.
yeah, look, there are some real problem people. I understand, but how is it getting out, abusing somebody,
That's
tooting
completely
your
different.
horn? Worse
call
still, in
them-
Queensland, tradies will get out with hammers and smash windscreens.
that
This
just
is
goes
not
to
us leveling up.
Yeah, that stuff.
I
You can
mean,
give 'em a
there
two.
is a passage in the Bible where the good Lord suggests we should turn the other cheek. Now, I realize we're getting whiplash from the amount of cheek turnings we're doing. And I understand that you'd like to turn somebody else's head around with the odd cheek turning yourself. And certainly in a road rage situation. But I just use that to illustrate, how long does it take you to go from quite placid driver to rocket rager in an instant? It only has to be one person trying to cut in front of you, or one person who is a muppet and does something stupid on the road that really doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
But your opinion of their shithouse driving all of a sudden becomes very important, and your blood pressure goes up. You get amped up. The people in the car around you get to hear and see your rage, whereas the muppet who created this intensity inside you, in all likelihood, doesn't. Or if you make it very aware that you've got them on camera and you've got them, and they still don't care, they just hold a finger up and drive off a car length in front of you. So that's where people get frustrated, want to jump out and smash windows. There's no point. There's no point. They're a car length in front of you, the muppet.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I agree. Certain people on the roads should be allowed to have big bulldozers, big like snowplow blades on the front of their cars, and ping some of these people into the nearest gum tree. I admit I've thought about that on more than one occasion, traveling on large highways with dickhead drivers. But we can't run them all off the road. Maybe eventually, when AI starts taking over everything, one of the benefits might be it takes the shit drivers off our roads. Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't think it will, but maybe. Got to love Tasmania for traffic. Depends what you're trafficking, I would have thought. Oh, sorry.
Wrong comment. Well, it looks like we aren't going to get one back again, unfortunately.
Yeah, no.
So...
Juan's probably gone and had some lunch or something.
He's given up on us by now, I'd reckon. So,
yeah, he did write down.
There you go. Personal accountant. Don't drive angry. There you go. Bloody good.
Take a deep breath, as
Juan
well.
No idea how many people. Yeah, deep breath. You got no idea how many people suffer instant karma from road rage incidents. I mean, it happens more often than you would think. Instant karma, whereas you're abusing some numpty who's gone and done something stupid beside you, and then you run up the arse of the car in front of you. I mean, that happens regularly. I was one of them once, long time ago. I had a Nissan 200 SX that needed a new nose job.
Hate symbol tattoo. Did you see that? A man that had a Nazi tattoo was arrested on a beach.
Oh God!
There's going to be so much we have to look out for.
Newcastle Beach. He was arrested.
Yep.
I'd like to know how that
creatures. Sorry, Carl.
I'd like to know how that South African guy who turned up and stood quietly out in front of New South Wales Parliament got deported within a week, and his family got deported within a week, and yet we have so many illegal criminals and hate speech artists amongst us. Some locked up at Villawood, but most of them are in the community, and they have lawyers paid for by us getting them extensions and coming up with reasons for them not to be allowed to be taken out of the country. And yet this guy, who all he did was stand up beside his mates in the NSN, he wasn't shouting anything, he wasn't doing anything. The images that I've seen of him were him standing there saying and doing precisely nothing. Well, they were images, they weren't pictures, they weren't videos, I suppose. And yeah, a week later, not only was he arrested and thrown into Villawood, but him, the wife, and the new baby, who was an Australian citizen, may I add, has been thrown out of the country.
Because they want chaos.
Don't know how that's fair.
They love chaos.
Don't know how that's
What
fair.
they want.
Well, it's the
Well,
same
that's,
as the
and that's
guy
sort of
who's
what I was
had
getting to
17
before.
It's like that
17
movie. What was that movie with the teddy bear that used to make the kids scream, and then the screaming adrenaline will go up? It was like that. Does anyone remember that movie?
I do vaguely remember that. Yeah.
I forget what it was called.
Oh, is that, you're not talking about the cartoon one where they used to get the monsters?
Yeah, Monsters Inc. Wasn't it?
Monsters Inc. Yeah, Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
Remember
Monsters
it used
Inc.
to scream and the blood used to go up or whatever it was, and people used to say it was
That's
like
right.
the
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scream meter.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
What do we know about Pine Gap? Well,
Ooh.
what would you like to know about Pine Gap? I can
It's
tell
a
you,
very,
but I have
very-
to tell you.
An NBA. I cannot talk.
It's a very, 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 very large telescope. We won't tell you what's underneath it, though. Because we don't know.
Okay. I know
can
we
tell
did a
you-
dig
we can tell
on
you
that.
the-
On Chats with Pirate. Aussie, what's it? Chat with Aussies. You know, Pirate, my friend, on her Telegram. She does great digs if you ever want to go over to her channel. She's done good ones on Pine Gap.
Okay.
But go ahead, Carl. Sorry.
Very good, very good. Pine Gap listening post for the world, hooked into the Echelon satellite system, amongst other bits and pieces. It is one of two bases out there. The second base is much more secret and much more underground than what you see above ground at Pine Gap. Pine Gap, I think, is 18 to 23 levels deep underneath. The other one is something like 200 levels deep, and it is further west out towards the West Australian border in a mountain range. And it's located where they found one of those, well, for the want of a better term, stargates, which was located back in the 1920s here in Australia. And if you really want to dig a little further, that's where and I've forgotten their name, isn't that awful? It's where the friendly aliens live.
Oh,
Palladians.
Palladians.
Palladians. The Palladians.
Palladians, okay.
That's where the Palladians have been camped out.
And
So Pine Gap. Yeah.
This raises the thing where there is so much. This is what I was talking about before. So there's a lot of people going to look at you, Carl, and go, "You're an idiot." But once again, who says it can't be true? There's that percentage bar that I was talking about. So
people should also understand when.
This is a good rate.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
People should
It's
also
on True Seekers.
understand.
I've just shared it.
Okay,
200 and
cool.
something pages. So if you want to have a look at that.
People
Audio
should
book?
also understand that when I start telling facts like that or things like that about, things that I know, I'm not telling them from a fact or from a perspective that I believe it's all factual. I'm telling you just what I have stored up in my head about those locations, given what I have read and seen, and in some cases spoken to people about over time. So It's more like a regurgitation of what I've got stored up in here in no particular order and with no particular veracity attached to it, outside beyond whatever I might add at the time.
Yeah.
No, I'll just put that in here.
I think it's our Stranger Things, the Upside Down. Anyone watching Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Right.
I am.
Great.
The food
MK Ultra, the whole lot.
Yeah. No, it's all a very interesting time, and I think this year is the year that we, as a group of Australians, need to come together and stop mucking around and stop fighting amongst each other as freedom fighters. Because let's face it, there's one goal, and that's take our country back.
Yep.
One
and
goal.
You would have thought that
That's
would be a pretty easy
should
thing
be
to
aiming
do.
at. No, personality is getting away all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even thinking about personalities being the problem here. How do we explain to Mustafa's missus, Raj's missus and his family and everybody else that the food bowl of Australia exists through our farmers and that hanging power lines over them in parts of Victoria and other places is detrimental not only to the farmers, but detrimental to our food chain? How can we convince the people in the cities that it is very important to support our country brethren when some, not many, but some still believe that milk comes from a container, not a cow?
It does.
Does it?
That's a perfectly true statement. It comes from a container. How it gets to the container in the first place is another question, right? They're only seeing part of the actual answer. Sorry.
It's getting a
Just
bit late to be playing semantics with me. I'm sorry.
There are some
I
pretty...
know. Carl's past his bedtime right now.
Yeah, I think it's past mine too. I need to go read my book.
Which I just posted in the chat for everybody who was interested.
You did. Very decent of you.
I put the name of it up there, not the actual document. So,
what is it?
The book that you told me.
Yes. Okay. God, you're quick, Vince. Jesus Christ.
Have been known to do that occasionally. Be quick. We won't talk about what.
Peg's place says something here. Need the government agencies to wake up before we can do anything. I think it's the other way around, Peg. I think the people have to prove that we are serious about it before those weak-gutted bastards who have been doing what they're told all their life by their masters will stand up with the people. I understand how important it is, but the level of belief inside the police forces, the level of police, the level of belief inside police forces is very low because everybody that believes in the police forces are leaving the police forces.
Yeah.
All right. They've woken up to the bullshit. Queensland have lost 700 alone this year and haven't been able to replace them. I think New South Wales have lost more, over 1,200. Victoria have lost over 1,000. So now we're getting recruitment drives in Hindi, believe it or not. We're getting Indian officers standing in front of police vehicles, extolling the virtues of becoming a copper in Australia. Got to be honest, I'm not going to deal well with the first Indian copper that pulls me over. Oh, you've been a very naughty boy. I'm either going to laugh.
You might be able to barter your way out, though.
Well, and therein lies the $64,000 question. When they bring so much culture from their lands, how long before you'll be able to bribe them on the side of the road?
Yeah.
There we go, folks.
That's an
Enjoy the show.
I'm not just singling out one particular culture here. I mean all of them.
Good and bad in every kind.
All of them.
Yeah.
So speaking of cultures and knowing that Australia Day is coming up soon, right? Once we bounce over this, we have obviously certain protests that are going to be happening on that day.
Mhm.
Just for everybody's interest, in case you're wondering, the current figures is 3.5 million visa holders in this country. 3.5 million. Remember that. So when they say we're being racist, no, we're talking about mass immigration. 3.5 million.
People don't comprehend what mass immigration is. They just think we're being racist bastards. And we're not.
I love all the guys that are popping up from Australia now, and you're seeing them, and they're saying, "Oh, you know, I'm from Denmark, or I'm from India, and you know, I've made this country my home, and I am an Australian citizen." And da 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 da. It's great to see these Australians, and I'm calling them Australians because they've chosen to come to this country and live here as an Australian, right?
Yeah.
It's great to see them in here. But of the 3.5 million people who aren't, are either 1.7 or something, I think, was on temporary visas, another's on permanent visa. So they haven't changed the citizenship yet. So, you know, and then not to mention everybody else that's popping in from certain countries that are at war that could be terrorists. Just saying.
Yeah.
So
we need to stand up. Australia, get out, get your flags up.
Day. Yep, Australia Day. But if you can't make it to any of the marches on Australia Day and you'd prefer to go and sit with a whole bunch of like-minded people, have a few beers over the course of a few days, make some friends, tell some lies, make some stories, then can I tell you that this My Place get-together could be the place for you. It's a camp out happening in Queensland. It was meant to happen in December, but it got pushed back because of the madness of December. And instead now they're going to run it on the weekend of 24, 25, 26 of January. And I dare say the 27th will be a public holiday, won't it?
Wow, that's great. I love
that.
But
pop along to that one. Well, there you go, Beckio. You and Doris, caravan trip. I can see you girls coming up.
Could you imagine we wouldn't make it there?
Oh, it'd be a lot of fun watching you try.
We should have one of those GoPros on during our adventure.
One, I think you'd have to have half a dozen.
And to be fair, the guys that are carrying this out have been running very successful My Places and have won a lot of battles and stuff within their councils. So it's well worth to go there just for the education. Learn from people who have succeeded.
Good on them.
Yeah,
I love that.
Sorry.
So Bob's doing a great job.
Hang on. Just realised. Got to put on the right hat.
Oh, there you go. I've got mine over there too. I should have put mine on.
There you go.
We just made that our show. This is now the My Place show. No, sorry.
Darren's like, keep on going, Vince. Keep on going.
I'm going to do this because Carl needs to go to sleep. So I'm going to say thanks for having me, Beckio. Love you lots. I'll catch you later.
Too. Hooray.
Everybody. Lovely to see you. And you too, madam. Been a pleasure. Have a great week at work. You going back to work?
Oh, tomorrow. Yeah. I've had the week off. I haven't had a week off for a long time.
Can you explain to me why people go absolutely mad on Christmas Eve when they know the shop's going to be closed for one day?
I think, look, the Australian culture at the moment, we're working our asses off. So you're working, you don't have time to do shit, and it's a last minute thing. That's what I'm saying. So we were busy for that one day, and it's been absolutely dead for since I haven't been at work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Really low sales.
Well, that's because everybody went in on the 24th and bought 6 days worth of food for some reason.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
anyway,
thank you for sorting us out with Juan as best you could, and we'll
probably message me and say
back
I'm back. I'll be like, no.
Yeah, great.
Sorry, Juan, we love you, but
no. Just explain to him that next time we're going to do a quick fire round of questions. He's going to have yes and no answers only. and
Yes. We'll have a countdown clock too.
we might be able to give the viewers a chance of getting their questions asked. So
yes,
not to say his answers weren't interesting, but
Which reminds me, I forgot to say, I have copied all the questions we didn't ask him, so I have a copy of them.
okay.
very good. Thank you. Well, we can send them to Becky O and she can text them to him. That'll be great.
Yeah, maybe he can write it.
Yeah, well, it'll be like
I
the
might
interview
do
I did with Graham Kennedy once. I had to fax all my questions to him, and he faxed back all his answers.
Good old
Made for
Graham
the
Kennedy.
rather interesting radio interview, me reading my own facts to him and his answers. Anyway, have yourself a lovely evening, and we will talk during the
Yes.
week, I have no doubt.
Toodaloo, goodbye to you.
All right, Dale, bye. And to you folks, love your work. Thanks for joining us on a Sunday night. It has been a little weird. I'm sorry that Juan was unable to maintain a connection long enough to get through a few more of your questions. But as Vince said, we do have them, and we will endeavour to get them to him and hopefully get him back on to answer a few more of them in the not too distant future. If you are gearing up for New Year's Eve, be safe. And if you're going to be anything like me, you'll probably be in bed before midnight. So look out for that. Tomorrow night, well, we might have a bit of a show. We'll see what happens in the world. I'm going to be watching very intently what happens with the gold and silver markets at opening tomorrow morning. So from 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time, I'd be having a bit of a look at what's happening in the precious metals market. And if you've got a spare shekel or two, maybe buy a little bit of silver. When the Asian market wakes up, silver quite likely to get another little hit, although just watch it closely. Just watch it closely. It might drop. And if that's the case, buy in the dip. That's what they say. All right, folks, not my financial advice, just what I'm going to do. Enjoy yourself. Have a fabulous what's left of your Sunday night. Go to bed. I'll stop raving. And hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to dodge the dickheads on the road just as well as you. Isn't it nice, though, this time of year? There's a lot less dickheads on the road.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!